Hello guys and welcome to another video. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you basics of Python. It is going to be really basic, nothing special, but I'm going to explain how it works, how to install it, and simple things like that. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to install Python. Literally just go to downloads and download this, and that's it's going to automatically detect your OS and stuff like that. So all you have to do within the installation is make sure it adds it to path. It's gonna say with big letters PATH, and so you just have to add something to path. I'm not even sure what, just look for the word path and allow that. So it's gonna add pip and it's gonna add Python. So let's start off with just writing cmd. Okay, so once you install Python, you can actually access it from here, and it's gonna say what version it is and stuff like that, but we're not gonna do that right now. So you can also do pip install and then some module. Like usually modules are named like for example of a module would be speech recognition. So speech recognition, and then you press enter and it's gonna install it for you. That's all. It's really simple. So that's how you install modules. So you write pip install and name of module. Modules in Python are basically just like tiny little programs that help you develop your program. So let's say time would be a module in Python, and it would, once you use the elements of the time module, you can actually display time in Python. You can also do OS is a module, and I'm going to show you that. OS is basically import the operating system and then execute a command through it, and you're going to execute it through, well, pretty much what you define. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new file, and it's going to be called program.py. Alright, so that's a Python program. As you can see, if you successfully install Python, you're going to get this. So right click on it, edit with idle, and edit with idle. So this is idle. This is mostly mostly where you're going to program. Maybe later you're going to switch to PyCharm or something like that. Maybe you're gonna write in like Atom or something like that. I don't know. So let me first show you print hello world. So this is the most basic thing you can ever do in Python. Is it actually just says hello world. So what print does is it says to the Python, please say this, and then he says this, which is hello world. The reason that is there's quotation marks and then there's the brackets is because you just have to use it in Python. In Python 2.7 you would just have to do print and then the quotation marks and then hello world. But now, because of the like syntax stuff, you actually have to put the brackets. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so that's for the hello world. Then next thing we're gonna do a comment. So comment is actually just a hashtag. How would you call it? It basically you just put that and you write whatever you want. And if it goes to another line, it's not a comment anymore. And you can see that by the color. But I'm just gonna wipe that because we don't really need that. So let's do hello sir instead of hello world, and then let's do an input. So you can just do a basic input, and you can do like, I don't know, what is your name? And then that's okay, like it's gonna work, but there's no point in that. So let's just define the input. It's still gonna be, it's still gonna go through it. It's still gonna ask you the input because inputs are always asked. So if you define them anywhere, like I just did, it's gonna ask you, hey, what is this input doing? Like I really want to know that because I have to use that. Like program pretty much first reads stuff and then reproduces it to your screen. So let's call it key. I don't really, you can call it whatever you want. And it says input, what's your name? And so now we're gonna do well, we're not gonna do if statements, yes, but let's just do a print key. So you notice I didn't put the quotation marks. That's because when you put the quotation marks, you're printing out a string. You're actually printing out like a string doesn't have to be letters, it can be numbers as well, right? It's not gonna bug out. As long as it's in quotation marks, you can write anything you want pretty much, except for like stuff like backslash, and then because \n, for example, stands for the new line. I'm gonna show that later. It's really not that important, but you might be using it for the aesthetics, or %s or stuff like that. You'll see. So like numbers and letters, no problem. So print key, and what this will do is it will print key, and key is equal to input what's your name. So how does this work? Input asks what's your name, and then this transfers to whatever name you type in. So let me just show you that. And it says, hello sir, what's your name? And I'm gonna say my name is Phil, and he's gonna say Phil. All right, so that doesn't really make any sense, but here's how he says Phil. So if you want to say hello Phil, we're gonna do hello and a comma and the key. So this is gonna say hello Phil. Now of course I want to make this more beautiful because this looks kind of weird, you know, like I'm typing right behind the question mark. That's not what programs look like. Let's make it more friendly. So let's do a -n, \n, and then let's do this icon. It doesn't really have to be that. You can put anything you want, but I like it for the aesthetics. So let me just show you how that looks. Right? So you see this looks nicer. It's like it looks like some kind of input. So you would say Mike, and it's gonna say hello Mike. Cool. All right. So we've done the inputs and we've done the prints. So let me just show you, for example, the difference between. Okay, let me just show you what if you want to say what instead of what is. What if you want to say what's? You can do that. And it's gonna say what's your name, right? So that's gonna work. Let me show you. Yeah. So you put one quotation mark, and here's two, right? So usually in other programs there can be mess, but not in Python. If you do this, you can also put one quotation mark, and as you can see, we got some sort of an error. Like this went from text to like Python input and stuff because it closed here. So don't use the same quotation marks for like what's up and stuff like that if you're gonna write. So I mean, if you technically if you did have the one quotation mark, you would have to put two here, and then that would be valid. But that just looks weird. So let's not do that. All right. So we've done that. So let's go with if statements. You know, because I really want to do that. And let's change what's your name to what's your age. Okay. And so since this is age and we're gonna get a number, I mean we don't need that. We're gonna say your age is and then key. Let's just rename it to age. I want you to like know what's what, you know. Right, so age, your name is age, and it's gonna ask for the age. Now since the age is age, it's gonna like once we write in the age, which is gonna be like say 12, it's gonna return 12, but it's not gonna be an integer. So that means it's not gonna be really a number, it's gonna be a string. I mean it's gonna look the same to you. Let me just show you. So age, let's say 9. And it's gonna say 9, right? So that looks fine, but it's not really, because you can't add stuff to it. It's a string. So what you have to do is you actually have to go int, which stands for integer, and you're gonna have to convert that. And now, I mean, it's still gonna work, right? So what's your age? 90, and it's gonna say 90, right? So that's fine. But what can I do with that? Well, let me just show you. So let's do if statements. If age is larger or equal to 50. So if someone is above 50, we're gonna say you are getting older, right? No offense to anyone. Elif. This basically just means if another time, but we can't do that like that. The first thing you do has to be if, and then all the others can be elif, and the last one has to be else. I mean, there's cases where you can just do if and else or something like that, but you know, just follow the line. If age is less than 18, because 18, print you are under age, and else print okay, right? So let's see how that works. Hello sir, what is your age? And I'm gonna say my age is 16, and it's gonna say you're underage, right? And it still says your age is this age because it does after the input. So it goes input, and then it says this, and then it reads this, one of these obviously, right? So that works. Let's try something else. Let's try 80, and it's gonna say you're getting older. And what if we say 20? It's gonna say okay. Right, so that's pretty much if statements. It's really not that complicated, right? There's a lot of stuff that you can change, they can add, but this is the core of it. This is the core of if statements, and it's like you can see that it's not really that complex. Right, so I want to show you something else. So why don't we switch that? Actually, let me show you an error, right? So if we didn't put this into an integer, this is how this would look like. And I say, like, I don't know, 80, boom, you got an error. Why? Well, that's what I was talking about. It's a string. You know, it's actually reading it as a text and not as a number. So this is why we have to change it to number. Anyway, so let me just show you, yeah, the example of %s. And let's add here, and your age is %s. And percent, and then age. Right? So how does this work? And as you can see, I didn't even put the like comma here. I just put the %. So what does this do and how does this work? Let me show you. And I added this one. And what this does is basically anywhere in this string, it's gonna call for this. And this is going to be tagged with this, through this, right? So the percentage sign basically says, all right, like I'm connecting this percentage, like right here, %s, with this age, right? So if that's too complex for you, like let me just show you. You can put the percentage s here. It's not gonna make sense, but you can actually do it. So let's do age again, and it's gonna say if we're underage, it's gonna drop in the number in the in the middle. So let me just zoom that back. Right, so it's gonna say hello sir, what's your age? And I'm gonna say 14, and it's gonna say you're 14 underage. Yeah, because we dropped it in here, but you get the point, right? So let me show you formats, right? So if someone is like a 20, that's okay for, I don't know, accessing a website. No offense to anyone under 18 or above 50. We want to say, I don't know, let's say that's not the one. Let's say a 1 here. Let's actually say 0 here, and let's say dot format, and we're gonna say age. I think that should work. So 20 is acceptable. Okay, 20. So as you, okay, dot 20. So as you can see, that works. It actually doesn't have to be a dot. You can just do a space. So how does this work? Well, it's pretty much the same thing, but now you have numbers. If you want to do something else, let's do paycheck equals 50,000. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, 5,000. But let me just show you how that could work. They're obviously like, why am I putting underage people in my company? But you know. All right, so age, and let's do paycheck. Cool. So let's do 20 again. Okay, 20 and 5,000. I mean, it doesn't make any sense now. Okay, let me just fix it. You are 20 years old, and your paycheck is cool. So it works. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show you. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is actually, I have an example of if statements here as well. Let me just show you. So I don't really need this anymore. I'm just going to put it here. I actually have this one here. So let me just show you how that works. It's the same thing here, right? So it says print question 1, what color is the ocean? And well, I hope it's blue. And then the key is input, and it says, is it blue? Is it red? Is it yellow? And then what I did here, if the key is 1, and notice right here, I didn't do equals equals and then one number. I did a string. So because I didn't convert it here in integer, but you know, that's fine as well. But you can't do greater than, like, because it's text basically. It's not reading as a number. And so it says correct, incorrect, and incorrect, and then you have else is invalid input. And what I have here is basically the converter to integer, so I can do greater than, and now I can do this, and it's gonna do, instead of these two, I think, yeah, and it's gonna do, well, it's gonna pick up my else as well. So like if you input 4 or 5, it's gonna print out that, this and that, I think, I'm not sure. So basically what it says now is, well, actually I have to remove that as well then. So what it says now, if it's 1, you press correct, and if it's larger than 2, you press incorrect. So that's another example of it. It's really that simple. So well, actually, let's just stay inside. Let me just show you modules. So import OS. And right now, when you run this, nothing's going to happen. But if you want to do stuff, you can do os.system. This is, to me, one of the favorite modules. I'm just going to show you this just so you know how to work with modules. So it's going to say os.system, let's do, I don't know, ipconfig, and then save it to ip.txt. As you know from the last tutorial, I actually did this. And this is how you save stuff to a non-existing file, or rewrite an existing file. So this is just a command to run something in the OS. So boom, it did. Like, it didn't output anything because it didn't ask it to, and then you have it here. And this is the IP stuff about my computer. So that's cool. This tunnel adapter, I gotta change that up. It's fine. This is kind of old. Anyways, so that would be it for that. And now I want to show you data types, certain data types. I want to show you, well, let me just take any of these. So let me just drop it in here, and let me just edit it and empty it. So let me show you lists. So list 1, let's go list 1 equals, and then this brackets. And in the list we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can do 5, and we can do none. Actually, we can do false. And how you call from lists, let's say we want to call this 4 here. So here's how we're counting: 0, 1, 2, 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to do print list 1, and we're going to do 3. So, sorry, 31. All right, so that's what's going to give us 4. 4. So there's tuples as well. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry, English is not my first language. Tuples as well. The difference is you can't change data from tuples, but you can from lists. So if I do list 1, number 3 equals, I don't know, 7. And if I do the same thing, where I'm going to print the same thing, after that, it's going to give us 7, right? So you can change that. That's cool. The tuples are usually marked with just like brackets like this and stuff like that. There's also dictionaries. It's really similar to JSON structure. Like, you have something that means something. You also have to know what integers are, which are basically numbers. Float is basically just like a point number, like let's say 17.01. And then you have a string, which is just any text. And then you have, like, I don't know, Boolean, which is false or true. Basically, what we learned here today is the basics of Python. So what else you wanna know is, well, there's actually classes, and you can define them like you can call them whatever you want, and they can take objects and stuff like that. And they're basically like for defining the type of data you want to use. And then there's functions, which I really like. So let me just show you one example. Def main, so you can call it whatever. Let's call it whatever. And you can put the brackets, and then you can say print hey, right? And now if I run this, let me show you. Nothing happened. How come? Well, because it's in a function. So this is a function, and this function does this. This is basically the same as me doing this, right? So just printing out hey, but now it's in a function. And how do you call a function? You call it like this, whatever, because that's her name, and then the brackets. And there you go. Now it says hey. Now you can guess how that could work. You can also change stuff like from function. You can modify this to, you know, fit your purpose better. You can make complex stuff for the function. And that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and make sure you have a good day.